Welcome yet again to another incredible episode of Adventures in Entrepreneurship. I am your host, Jared. This, of course, is Captain Clay. Clay, today we are talking about the 8th chapter of your book, where you meet Napoleon and the Hood. Who is Napoleon?
Napoleon is the author of a book called Think and Grow Rich. This little book right here, we'll call this Exhibit A. Napoleon is basically the author of Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. He was the personal apprentice of Andrew Carnegie. And Hood is Ron Hood, a guy that is probably, he could be watching this. Ron Hood is a sales trainer, and at the time he was a co-worker of mine at a company called Faith Highway, or it was called Impact Productions, later sold to Faith Highway.
Gotcha. Now, what did these two men teach you?
We're going to start off with Ron Hood.
Okay.
To give you the picture, to give you the scene, you have to kind of close your eyes while watching, okay? You walk into this call center. It's a big circular room. There's probably 30 guys out, 30 guys in each pod. There's 2 pods. And in the corner, occupying the space of 3 cubicles, there's one man. And there's this unbelievable energy. Normally people get to work at 9, and then like 9:30, 9:45, they're getting coffee. 9:50, they go to the bathroom. 9:55, they're getting the coffee again. Now they have to go to the bathroom again. They got to check their voicemails, change their daily voicemail, respond to their emails, reorganize stuff. Nothing happens till 10. 9 o'clock, phone rings. This guy's dialing, smiling. He's picking up his phone, calling. And we were a call center calling churches to market evangelism commercials to churches. And this guy at 9 would just start with a fury, and he was like 4 times the effectiveness of one man. Took up, he's just unbelievably successful sales guy, and he was the first guy I'd ever seen in my life to create his own momentum. So that's kind of the deal with him. And then Napoleon Hill, was the author of Think and Grow Rich, and from his book he teaches a lot of timeless success principles and really how to get ahead. But from Ron specifically, what I learned is he basically told me that I had to, quote-unquote, get rid of my stinking thinking. And his whole concept was that I wasn't successful because I made excuses. And Ron's thought was that doing sales was kind of like sowing seeds. And so his thought process was, if you didn't make 100 calls a day, you weren't a real human. And so he used to kind of encourage me that I wasn't actually a real salesperson, or I wasn't actually a legit salesperson unless I made that many calls. That was kind of his minimum. Sometimes he'd make 200 calls. But from that, he knew that he could expect about 10 return calls. And from the 10 return calls, he could expect 2 appointments, and 2 appointments, he could expect 1 deal. And that's how he made his money. And this guy was ridiculous. And he's the first guy that ever went into a room where there was no energy and created his own that I'd ever witnessed before. And normally I feel like people are bandwagon people. Like they don't want to be part of a church unless it's big. They don't want to be part of a company unless it's growing. They don't want to be, This guy came in and was like, I really don't care what the company's doing. I don't really care what's happening in this room, but I'm going to be successful. He just created his own momentum. And it was really inspiring for me. And then Napoleon Hill, when I read Think and Grow Rich, it was the first time in my life I'd ever read the concept that success is a choice. I'd always heard that some people are successful, or he got lucky, or he got his big break. And Napoleon Hill just is totally opposite of that. There's no big breaks. There's no big, there's no big connection. There's no big luck. And Napoleon Hill's kind of philosophy is that the doors of life, there's kind of like this big hallway, and there's doors, and all the doors are closed. And if the door is closed to where to the room you want to get into, just knock it down. It's kind of his philosophy, essentially. And so between Ron Hood and reading Napoleon Hill, my whole life was changed there back in about 2000, 2001.
Wow. Now, you hit on how success is a choice, and I know for you, the choices that you made have come from the people that you've studied.
Yep. It's
not necessarily just that you're within you, just this outpouring of knowledge. It's that you read incessantly.
Right.
And so, real quick here, as some tips for people watching, give us your top 3 people, top 3 successful people that you have followed, that these people should be following and doing as they've done.
Well, if you're starting your business, great question. If you're starting your business, I really, absolutely think it's important that you grab hold of a biography of somebody that you admire, or an autobiography. I would recommend Sam Walton, Made in America, because that guy was not motivated to make money. He was motivated to decrease the cost of living for the average American. Like, that was his whole thing. So people are like, yeah, he haggled with his vendors, and yeah, he tried to lower prices, and True, but his goal was to lower the cost of living for the average American. And he drove a crappy red truck and lived in a small house and chose to live in Arkansas of all places. And yet, if you live in Arkansas, I'm sorry you live in Arkansas, but here's the deal. Sam Walton he was focused on this big, big goal. And he started the business, it started growing, it started having some success, and then right at the peak of the success of his first store, he lost his lease. The owner of the building refused to renew his lease, and so he basically went out of business and had to start all over again after, I think it was like 5 years in business, on his first business. But once you see these entrepreneurs and you see how they start with nothing, and you see how he bought an ice cream machine that drew in people. It was like a bug zapper that draws in bugs. He realized that ice cream drew in the kids, and if the kids wanted to come in, then their moms would come in too. And he had just these really simple philosophies. He started at a young age, and he was diligent, and he realized, I need more customers. I think I'll bring in ice cream because it brings in kids. And it's just that kind of simplicity. I mean, he just was so focused. So I'd say Sam Walton's the best if you're starting a business. If you're wanting to learn management, Jack Welch, Winning, his book called Winning, or Jack Welch, Straight from the Gut, he is by far the best person to study if you want to study management. Because Jack basically believes in candor and telling people what you think when you think it. And although it totally flies in the face of the marriage counseling I just learned about this weekend, who did a great job at Church on the Move, his whole thing is in the context of business. So not at home. At home, don't do this. But in business, you know, he's like, just get rid of all the emotions and all the feelings and just tell me how I did and what I can do better. And I think that in business, that's the best way to go. I think if you can't handle what needs to be done better, and you can't look at yourself and go, that's not my best, and you can't emotionally come to terms with it, you're not going to do well in business. And he's the first guy that I've ever read that can teach you how to do it on a big scale with 50 people or 1,000 people. It's awesome. And then the third person I reckon that everyone studies is the early work of Robert Kiyosaki. His earlier stuff. His later stuff is a little bit intense. He believes that the Federal Reserve is going to bankrupt our country, which I agree with, but he writes a lot about it. And so if you want to get like the right mindset to reduce your taxes and how to get out of the rat race, Robert Kiyosaki is probably the best to study. So Robert Kiyosaki, Sam Walton, and Jack Welch.
Fantastic. So today, folks, as we just learned from Captain Clay here, success is a choice. And Clay, if you would, 30 seconds, send us off here. What do you got?
Basically, if you're watching this show and you're thinking about starting a business, thinking about growing your business, thinking about doing something different, just look at the worst case scenario. If you stand where you are at right now and you don't improve, you don't do something new, you're going to get exactly the same results. Let me repeat there, cause and effect. If no new cause comes in, no new impetus, no new stimulus, no new catalyst enters the picture, nothing will change. You're going to end up looking back at the age of 69, 70, your retirement age, you're waiting for Social Security, you just found out the new president bumped the retirement age up to 80, and you're going, why didn't I ever start my own business? And the answer will be because you were scared. So I'm telling you right now, don't be scared, be bold, go out there, start your business. I know you can do it. I can't memorize things. I have a short-term memory. I took algebra 3 times. I couldn't resuscitate Annie, you know that little thing where you have to resuscitate Annie, you breathe 7 times and pump the chest 21 times. You can never pass that. Can't dive off a diving board. Couldn't learn Spanish. Took it for 3 years and got a B. But I'm telling you, if you're watching this, if you can do any of those things or anything that shows any minor elements of intelligence, you are smarter than I am, and I know you can go out there and start a business and live the life of your dreams. So hop on the entrepreneurship and make it happen.
So there you have it, folks. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, post them on our Facebook page, also on our YouTube channel. As always, you can email Clay directly at clay@makeyourlifeepic.com. Thank you so much for joining us on the Adventures of Entrepreneurship. I'm Jared. This is your Captain Clay.